Hello there, thanks for joining me this Friday. I'm Muhammad Ahmad Hamdan and these are tonight's headlines. Government rejects suspicious 100 million ringgit donation for Tabung Harapan. Court grants appointment of foreign broker appraiser to sell off equanimity. And over a dozen killed in bus collision in Russia. We begin tonight's bulletin with this story. Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad today revealed that the government had declined an unnamed company's offer to donate 100 million ringgit to Tabung Harapan. This is because the donation could have strings attached, and the Premier believed that the company had ulterior motives. Tun Dr. Mahathir at a media conference after chairing the Pakatan Harapan Presidential Council meeting in Kuala Lumpur today pointed out that donations and fundraising also sometimes opened up doors to corruption. He added if a similar donation was made to a political party, the country will end up like it was before. For this reason, the government wants to seek public opinion on how political funding could be done in a clean manner. This, as the government has yet to find a formula for political parties to finance themselves without inviting elements of corruption and lobbying.
It's very critical. We are a mass-based party. We have to have people all over the country campaigning for us, but not everybody will be voluntary. Some people must be paid. And then when you have some perhimpunan, nasi lemak and all that has to be paid for. Ya, kadang-kadang wakil rakyat ada juga, menteri pun ada belanja duit sendiri lah. Dan ni tak ada, parti tak ada duit. Because we want to find a way for them to finance political parties, because without financing political parties cannot exist. But how do you finance them without creating opportunity for people to corrupt?
Dr. Mahathir also said political funding was necessary for political parties to stay afloat and organize programs. He revealed there had been a suggestion that the government adopts Germany's political funding policy, whereby the government set aside an allocation for political parties so that they did not need to rely on donations. However, he noted that this might be considered unfair to taxpayers and the government would consider other alternatives. In another development, Dr. Mahathir said he will go to Port Dickson on Monday to campaign for Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim in the Negeri Sembilan parliamentary by-election, despite having previously stated that he does not usually go down campaigning in by-elections.
Yeah, but I think there are a lot of people making all kinds of remarks against me. So I'll go there.
You're doing that to counter the remarks they made against you.
Yeah, they're talking about my quarrel with Anwar and all that. And then people will say I don't support Anwar because of my quarrel.
He said this in response to allegations that there's a rift between him and the PKR president-elect. The Prime Minister also expressed hope that outstation voters would return to cast their ballots on October 13th, as there will be no postal voting for the by-election. Meanwhile, Dr. Mahathir has brushed off concerns over Siltera Malaysia's Sendirian Berhad's potential involvement in the upcoming third national car project. This was in response to MCA Deputy President Datuk Sri Dr. Wee Ka Siong's statement saying that Khazanah National Berhad's wholly owned subsidiary Siltera as one of the possible partners for the project, which would cast doubts on the government's promise that public funds would not be used for the project.
But Khazanah is not government. It is a company. They are quite free to do business.
Since its inception in 1995, Siltera has served many top-tier global fabless design and product companies, covering the consumer electronics, communications and computing, and mobile device market segments. The government is evaluating the most balanced solution on fuel subsidy for RON95 next year when it is not too inflationary for the nation and yet remains accommodative for the people. Entrepreneur Development Minister Muhammad Rezwan Mat Yusof said the government is currently in the midst of discussing subsidies allocation for 2019, including on fuel subsidy, which was scheduled to be announced during the 2019 budget on November 2nd.
We are drafting those. We have not come up to a number yet. Whether there is an increase or decrease is something that you will see when we table in the parliament. We want to grow this country or reduce our status as a consuming nation. So you know what I'm saying. So there'll be increase in development expenditures. That I can share for sure, because, as I said, we don't want to be a consuming nation. We want to be producers.
The minister spoke to the media after officiating the launch of Beauty Expo 2018 today. Organized by UBM Asia, the expo will see the participation of more than 380 international and local exhibitors representing beauty, hair and makeup brands, as well as halal cosmetics. The 4-day event is expected to draw some 17,500 visitors. The Kuala Lumpur High Court gave the green light to the government and One Malaysia Development Berhad 1MDB today on the appointment of brokers and an appraiser to sell off the R1 billion luxury yacht Equanimity linked to fugitive financier Low Teck Joe, also known as Joe Low. Senior lawyer Sitpa Selvaratnam, who is leading the legal team for 1MDB and the government, said the appointments were effective today and the vessel is expected to be out for sale in the next few weeks. She also said they hoped the Equanimity would have a new owner and be out of Malaysia by early December. The appointed brokers and appraiser had international reputations and were well known in the yacht industry. In August, the 1MDB and government legal team obtained an order to sell the super yacht as the cost of maintaining the vessel was too high. The Equanimity has been parked at the Baustad Cruise Centre terminal in Port Klang since the Indonesian government handed it over to Malaysia. Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad previously urged the vessel's owners to come forward and claim it and provide proof that it was not bought with money stolen from 1MDB. In Perak, 10 teenagers were charged in the Taiping Magistrates Court today with raping a 13-year-old girl last month. No plea was recorded from the boys. The charge was read out to the accused, aged between 15 and 17, by a court interpreter before Magistrate Muhammad Hairul Jamain in a closed-door proceeding. They allegedly committed the offence in an empty house and several other locations in Kamunting, Taiping between September 18th and 25th. The charge was made under the Penal Code, which carries a maximum jail term of 30 years and whipping upon conviction. The court allowed the teenagers bail of between 3,500 ringgit and 6,000 ringgit in one surety, with an additional condition that they cannot disturb the victim. The case has been set for mention on November 28th. Moving on, Baling Member of Parliament Datuk Sri Abdul Aziz Abdul Rahim and his brother were released today. The duo had earlier been detained by the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission MACC to facilitate investigations into a corruption case. At the Putrajaya Magistrates Court, Magistrate Ahmad Afiq Hassan issued the order to release the former Lembaga Tabung Haji chairman and his brother on 500,000 ringgit bail each in two sureties. The UMNO Supreme Council member was detained at the MACC headquarters on September 25th, while the brother was picked up in Sungai Buloh later after the MP and their cousin, who is a company director, at 5:30 p.m. in Putrajaya on the same day. On September 26th, the three men were remanded for 4 days to facilitate investigations under the MACC Act. On Saturday, the remand orders for Datuk Sri Abdul Aziz and his brother were extended until today, while the cousin was released on 10,000 ringgit bail in two sureties. Meanwhile, the MACC has arrested the son of the Member of Parliament on the same day to assist with investigations into corruption and abuse of power involving millions of ringgit in government projects. According to sources, the The 24-year-old suspect, who was arrested at noon, was believed to have been the proxy for his father, who was also recently detained by the MACC. The man, together with a 40-year-old car dealer with the title of a Dato', acted as proxies and runners for money laundering involving a contracting firm. The case is being investigated under Section 16 of the MACC Act 2009. The MACC is expected to obtain a remand for the 24-year-old at the Putrajaya Magistrates Court on Saturday morning. The Housing and Local Government Ministry has required all search and rescue SAR operations at rivers and sewers to be equipped with information of the area's bottom structure to ensure it is safe for divers and rescue personnel. Its Minister Zuraida Kamarudin said this new addition to the Standard Operating Procedure (SOP) requires rescue teams to obtain the structure plan from the local authority before launching the SAR operation. The additional SOPs is to ensure that rescue teams are well prepared in all aspects, including knowing every risk involved in the operation.
Dia air tu sampai dada je, 4 kaki je. Jadi kalau ikutkan standard divers, 4 kaki air tak ada masalah, kita pun boleh lepas. Tapi bencana nak jadi dia air kat situ pusing ke apa, lepas tu kat bawah. Sebab tu saya punya arahan, sebelum bomba, in future, ke depan sebelum bomba turun untuk buat kerja-kerja menyelamat di mana-mana tempat, kena pergi pada PBT, ambil plan struktur apa longkang ke, sungai ke, monsoon drain ke, ambil struktur dia. Jadi dia tahu kat bawah tu landai ke, kat bawah tu ada batu ke, tanah lumpur ke apa.
She said this when commenting on the recent incident which saw 6 rescue personnel killed in an SAR operation at a Puchong mining pool despite having followed the required SOP. She said a directive has also been issued to the Fire and Rescue Department to study the practicality of using the human chain approach in performing water rescues. When we return, Malaysia has a part in new Venom movie. The details up next. Welcome back. Now let's take a look at our daily segment Clickbait for what's trending and making rounds in the cyber world today. Let's admit it, the mere mention of Malaysia or a local city in any Hollywood movie is enough to make us feel excited and proud all at the same time. Naturally, you can bet that Malaysians would lose their marbles when they discovered that an East Malaysian state played a significant role in the latest Marvel supervillain movie, Venom, from Sony Pictures. Before we move on, let me warn you that this may contain spoilers from the film. Venom was released in Malaysian cinemas yesterday, and several media outlets who watched the preview were surprised, as at the start of the movie it was shown that a spaceship had crashed on Earth, and the spot where it landed is none other than Cebu, Sarawak. The movie even showed a map of East Malaysia when the scientists portrayed in the film were trying to locate the location of the spaceship. As usual, Malaysians who managed to catch the flick once it was released went on to Twitter to express their excitement. Many of them tweeted that the whole cinema went into a frenzy and cheered for Malaysia when the scene came up on screen. Suffice to say, it's good that Malaysia is getting such publicity from Hollywood instead of grabbing headlines worldwide over certain controversies. Combined. A video of a girl nearly falling off a local train in Mumbai, India has gone viral on social media. However, she managed to escape death thanks to the quick reaction by her fellow passengers. In the video in Thane, the 17-year-old was seen standing on the train footboard, slightly leaning out. A few seconds later, another train passed by at high speed on the opposite track, and the girl somehow lost her grip on the door handle and slipped out of the train. Fortunately, a few men who were also standing on the floorboard managed to grab onto her and pull the girl to safety. It was understood that she only sustained a minor injury to her hand and had sought treatment at a local hospital. However, there's more behind her story, as the girl was later picked up by Kerala police for giving false information about herself after a probe was carried out on the incident. It was revealed that she had run away from home in Mumbra since last year and would be handed back to her parents. Now updated as of 7 p.m, here are the top trending topics and searches on the internet today. Now, Malaysia is fast becoming the highest aging population in Southeast Asia, with the average life expectancy of Malaysians reaching 75 years. With an aging population comes many challenges that need to be faced. But will the country be prepared to implement the necessary policies? Wan Izul Islam finds out more.
The world's population is growing every day in number as well as age. By the year 2030, the world's population would have grown to 8 billion people, with 1 in 8 being over the age of 65 years. Senior citizens or the elderly make up at least 1/4 of our population in this developed country. With medicine and technology continuously evolving, people are not only living longer lives, but also better ones too. However, this demographic comes with many challenges, especially for policymakers with growing pensions and healthcare bills. Increasing the efficiency per capita or the retirement age may be one of the solutions. But this demographic in the long term suggests that the aging population needs more than just economic and social policy reform. Some senior citizens have revealed that the policies in Malaysia on how to care for the aging population is lacking compared to other developed nations. According to Khoo Chuan Kiat, who was previously conferred the Global Aging Trailblazer Award, action needs to be taken by the government to help inspire other sectors to also follow through.
The new government, in its recent manifesto, before the elections, actually came out with a list of things that they want to focus on special commitment to the senior citizens. Something that has been neglected for many over years by the previous administration. The tone has got to be set from the top.
Yes.
And it is got to be driven by the government in some ways in expounding the policies, and working together obviously with the private sector and with the individuals.
Studies also revealed that more than 75% of working people believe they won't have enough money to support them through their retirement years. With life expectancy of Malaysians at an average of 75 years and the retirement age at 65 years, a person would need savings to last between 15 and 20 years post-retirement.
In terms of EPF, we're quite lucky that it's there. There's a mandatory savings over the years. But unfortunately, when you add them all up, it doesn't come up too much. And if you have only 100,000 in the EPF, it ain't going to go very far, is it? If you have a medical issue, a serious medical issue, your 50,000, 100,000 could be wiped out in no time. Let alone talk about lasting you for the next 20 years.
To explore the many issues concerning the senior population, a conference focusing on aging, learning and technology will be held this weekend at Petroscience Gallery in Suria, KLCC. The world's oldest premier who returned to the political scene in 2018, Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, is also scheduled to open the conference that aims to help this growing segment in society. Among the key points that will be focused on include how to enrich and empower senior citizens to help them lead meaningful lives in their golden years. Wan Izul Islam reporting for 7 Edition.
The government will allow doctors to take unrecorded leave should they want to offer their services in helping out earthquake and tsunami victims in central Sulawesi, Indonesia. Health Minister Dr. Zulkifli Ahmad, who said this, however, did not state the number of government doctors who had left so far to serve in the affected areas in Sulawesi. According to Indonesia's National Agency for Disaster Management yesterday, the number of earthquake and tsunami victims killed in central Sulawesi had increased to 1,558 people. Last Friday, an earthquake with a magnitude of 7.5 on the Richter scale rocked the cities of Palu and Donggala, which also resulted in a tsunami, followed by over 250 aftershocks. And more after the break, another former South Korea president jailed for corruption. Stay right there. We're back with foreign news. Over in Russia, two buses collided on a highway northwest of Moscow on Friday, killing at least 13 people. 17 others were also injured in the accident, with 4 of them in a critical condition. According to local officials, the early morning collision occurred when a chartered Ford minibus collided with a transportation bus outside the city of Tver. It is understood that the Ford transit wagon had veered out of its lane into oncoming traffic used by regular buses before the collision. Officials also said all of the 13 killed were passengers of the minibus, which was carrying 15 people, including the driver. 17 passengers of the other bus suffered various injuries, and 4 of them were taken to hospital for treatment. A probe is underway to find the cause of the accident. A Seoul court today jailed former South Korean President Lee Myung-bak for 15 years for corruption today, making him the latest in a string of high-profile political and business leaders ensnared by graft charges. The 76-year-old, who was indicted back in April at the Seoul Central District Court, was found guilty of embezzlement of about $21.77 million and accepting bribes from Samsung Electronics in return for a presidential pardon for its chairman Lee Kun-hee, who was jailed for tax evasion. In addition to the jail sentence, the court also ordered him to pay a fine of $11.5 million. Lee, however, denied any wrongdoing, claiming the investigation that led to the trial was politically motivated, as well as an act of revenge by the current president, Moon Jae-in. According to the Seoul court, the former president, who served from 2008 to 2013, has a week to appeal against the sentence. On to sports. Tennis. The 2018 China Open. Second seed Alexander Zverev of Germany suffered an early exit following a 3-set defeat to Tunisia's Malik Jaziri in their second round clash today. Zverev paid the price for converting just 4 of 17 break points as Jaziri claimed his 3rd victory over a top 5 opponent this season. The German started poorly, losing a first-set tie-break 6-7 before fighting back to win the second 6-2 over the Tunisian. But Jaziri recovered his earlier momentum in the deciding set and secured a shock 6-4 win against the top seed. Up next for the world number 61 in the quarterfinals will be Georgian Nicolas Basilashvili. In another match, 4th seed Fabio Fognini continued his impressive recent form with a straight sets victory over Russian Andrei Rublev. The 31-year-old Italian, who has already lifted 3 titles this season, broke Rublev's serve 3 times en route to a 6-4, 6-3 victory. He will take on world number 45, Martin Fucsovic, in the last 8. And that item wraps up 7 Edition this evening. We leave you with a trailer of The Mule, a story based on the real life of World War II veteran Leo Sharp, which will hit Malaysian theatres on December 14th. I'm Muhammad Ahmad Hamdan. Thanks for watching and have a splendid weekend.
Family's the most important thing. Don't do what I did. This is the last one. So help me God. This is the last one. For what it's worth, I'm sorry for everything.